I want to talk specifically about the Lakers and the Rockets.
Oh, man.
The Lakers, with the win over the Jazz on the final day of the season, maintain home court advantage in the number 4 seed in the Western Conference. They actually could have moved up to the 3rd seed if Denver would have lost to San Antonio, which most people anticipated, even without Wemby. But
that was just wild.
That was. But as it turns out, they will take on Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. Lakers will be without their 2 stars, Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, leaving LeBron to reassume his role as the number 1 option. Currently, the Lakers are a heavy underdog to pull off the upset in the series. Latest odds have the Lakers at plus 540 to win the series. First, what do the Lakers need to do to win the series? Also, if LeBron manages to win the series, what does it do for his legacy, if anything at all? What say the people's champ?
What was the last part? What do to if they win?
Yeah, if they win, what does it do for his legacy, if anything at all?
Oh, okay. So what do they need to do to win? I mean, many argue that LeBron James is the GOAT. They may need to sacrifice the GOAT to make it out of this series against the Houston Rockets. The biggest disappointment to me in this series is that we got something that I wanted to see probably about 12 years too late. And that is like a stripped down mano-a-mano LeBron James, KD matchup where it's like, yeah, we got other pieces, but they're just the other pieces.
Yeah.
We're all here because of us. And let's go and see who's the dog.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we'd have got that in like 2013. Instead, we got like a flag football game in Akron somewhere or some dumb shit. But, so I will be looking at that and, in the back of my mind, like, I'd have been cool to see this some years ago, but I'll take it now. But outside of that.
You got it in 2012. You didn't like that in 2012 in the finals when Durant was in OKC.
The birth of the Winter Soldier, you mean? The birth of the Winter Soldier, you mean? All the evidence was laid out in front of us right then and there. And, and the legend of one Scott Brooks. I want to leave that alone, man. Don't get me started on. That Thunder team should have been won their first title, but I'm gonna leave that alone. But no, my 3% from last week still stands. Like the Lakers have a 3% chance of winning that series, barring a wet spot on the floor, or an injury, and I never wish that on anyone on both sides. I just don't feel that the Lakers have the pieces, and you're asking a lot of LeBron James at this age. I think he can probably give it to you 3-4 games, but if this series stretches out, man, that's going to be tough.
Yeah,
that's another one of those where you say they better get game 1 just to start thinking about doing something.
I agree. I'm like, game 1 is important. Yeah.
I will say this. I do still think LeBron James is good enough to win a game by himself.
Yeah, listen, he's been excellent the last stretch of the season without Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. I will say that. He's, they're the best numbers. I think it's the best stretch of games that he's had since 2020, since they won the championship. If that, for whatever that means. But
those other pieces, bro.
But schematically, I don't think there's anything that they can do.
It's going to be rough, man.
Again, even at 41, LeBron, arguably the best player in the series. I don't think he is. I think it's probably still KD at this point. But, LeBron is right there, second best player in the series. The problem is that the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th best players in the league all play in the series, all play for Houston.
Man, the gap between Houston's second best player and the Lakers' second best player.
That's what I'm saying. Even if you go across the matchups, Jabari Smith is better than Rui. Amen Thompson is better than Marcus Smart. Şengün is better than Ayton. Just matchup for matchup. It's
not a good look.
It's not, but in terms of even if LeBron could manage to win the series, what it would do for his leg, I don't think it does anything. I think LeBron is already solidified. He doesn't have anything. I said this last week. I feel like a broken record. LeBron doesn't have anything more to prove.
What does it do to Kevin Durant's legacy?
That's
Dun, dun.
that's actually a more compelling question. I mean, listen, I think KD, you know what? That's a great, I heard a great comparison this week.
Oh.
You just scratched something out of my head, man.
Oh.
I heard somebody compare Kevin Durant. They did a cross sports analogy.
Okay. I like those.
To Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, damn. Hold on now.
And I was like, you know what?
I'm going to hear you out.
Maybe the best thrower of the football that I've ever seen. You know, so like outstanding skill set. But, you know, weird with his teammates. Always problems with the teammates. Weird in the locker room. Ain't really interested in, you know, leadership skills are interesting. Like, no, I mean, like they broke it down. I was there. I was with him. I'm like,
KD, he, you know, the thing.
He's not quite as
KD seems
eccentric.
likable, bro.
Yeah,
like Aaron Rodgers, there are some times they're just like, oh my
I'm
God.
just talking. I'm mainly talking on the field, you know, on the playing surface type stuff. He's not quite as eccentric as Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm strictly talking on the playing surface, like
DMT in the cave, butt naked.
No. Yeah, like I'm strictly talking more on the playing surface though, like just the extraordinary talent though, because Aaron Rodgers
just checks all the boxes of everything you could ever want in a player.
Jaw-dropping talent though, like, you know, just the insane talent, but you just feel like, you know, you just like what's you know, like you can't put your hand around what's missing sometime. Because like with KD, I'm like, you know, it's just that I think he can do everything. Just like with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could do, he just wasn't interested in doing everything. Just like last year. Like he wasn't interested in quarterback sneaking. They had the tight end doing it the whole time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like
I wouldn't be interested either at 42.
I wouldn't either. Retire.
I mean, I agree.
That's what retirement is for. Like, just get up out of
good, though, dog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's got enough money. You know what I'm saying?
No, but them checks stop coming every 2 weeks when you retire at that amount.
I'm sure. Listen, I've never made that much money, so I might be in there too. Like, get the
dopamine hit when you hit that boy, like, woo!
Listen. I'm sure that I'm not judging, man. So I'm like, look,
but I feel you, bro. Like,
make the money as long as you can, but that's the thing.
Don't stink it up.
Yeah, but I thought that it was a great. I thought that it was a great cross sports comparison. Like I thought that it hit because
they are the elite of the elite.
They are. Like I'm like, man, you know, like Aaron Rodgers, like at his best, maybe the best thrower of the football I've ever seen. Kevin Durant at his best, maybe the best offensive skill set that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, on any platform throwing the football, it's hard to think of it.
Yeah, no, like Aaron Rodgers, like just like strictly getting the ball out from any arm angle.
Yeah, bro. We seen a lot of it too. We've probably seen them all.
Yeah. And I'm like, that dude was like that.
Wizard.
Yeah, he was like that. He got the ball into some tight windows, man. But
all you had to do was wait for the playoffs.
But that's a good question because there's a lot of conversation about whether or not KD is a top 10 player of all time. And I'm like, listen, it just depends on what you value. Fringe. God. It would probably be hard for me to put him in the top 10, but if you did, I couldn't really argue hard.
See, but when we do these, like, there's no set criteria.
Correct. That's
it's
why
just
I
like the top. Like, so, and I'm talking about not just basketball. Like, can we get like an authority on what consists of a top 10? And it's got to be a more expansive definition than the best.
Yeah, see,
like what consists
and that's
of
why
the best of?
It depends on what you value. That's why I always say, like, everybody's going to have a different top 10 list. Like, and again, I hate to be so LeBron and Jordan centric, but I have these conversations all the time. I'm like, listen, it depends on what you value. I'm like, LeBron fans tend to do a lot of pearl clutching.
Right.
When Bleacher Report, for example, makes a top 100 NBA players of all time, and Jordan is at the top. And I'm like, listen, Jordan don't have to be at the top of your list. You can say, hey, man, to me, it's LeBron, because I think that it depends on what you value. It depends on what you're looking at. Like, if you just looking at, because I will admit, LeBron has had the longest prime of any player that I've ever seen.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he had 20 years of 25 plus points per game. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, something stupid like that.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like, if that's what you value, then you certainly are going to put LeBron at the top of your list,
right,
because you value somebody being able to go and lace them up for 20 years in a row,
right,
averaging 25 plus points per game. If you value that, then I'm like, what I value is, I'm like, man, how much can you get done in what amount of time?
Right.
Because, people like, man, Jordan didn't start winning till the 90s. I'm like, but that don't define dominance, because if it does, then LeBron ain't that dominant, because he won 4 championships in 23 years. I'm like, Jordan had the greatest season on record in 1988.
But when they bring that up, though, do they always just conveniently ignore the fact that Michael Jordan came into the league in the middle of a restorative, rivalry that saved the sport?
Yeah, it
was like the middle of the Lakers and Celtics rivalry, where the NBA itself was like, the modern NBA was being established and redefined.
Post-merger.
Literally, as he stepped into the league. So not only is like you're in the middle of prime Lakers, you know what I'm saying, prime Celtics, not necessarily prime Sixers, but damn it, Google Moses Malone in any year of Dr. J. I'm not talking about you, of course.
Yeah, no.
But you get what I'm saying, or even the Pistons.
Yeah, right. The bad boy Pistons.
Or I dare you, so it's. They leave that part out where they talk about he lost in the 80s. Well, yeah, you guess what? Everybody lost to the Lakers and the Celtics in the 80s, but one team.
Yeah. And the thing of it is that if winning championships is the only thing that defines dominance,
Bill Russell does not leave the number one spot.
Right. And also, again, eras, the pre and post merger.
Right.
I'm like, Michael Jordan was dominant before he won championships.
Right.
He had the greatest season on record in 1988. He won the league MVP, All-Star Game MVP, Slam Dunk title, first team All-NBA, Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-Defense. Steals title. He won everything.
Well, they say that some of those stats are made up now.
Even if some of them are. It's still the most dominant season
they gave him
on record.
Stats.
So, even if they did,
they're fake.
Even if you take some of them away,
they're not real.
That's fine. Like, even if he won the league MVP, All-Star Game MVP, made first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, and didn't even get nothing else, that's still the illest season.
And then also too, you can't discredit, because to your point of it's what you value. You can't discredit what some people have seen.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who've seen Wilt.
Yep. No doubt.
They may not be alive now. Some may be, but somewhere there may be a photographer that worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer in the early 50s. Late 50s to mid 60s, late 60s, or may have worked out in LA. There was no era where you could see Wilt and not be like, this is the most ridiculous athletic specimen that I've ever laid my eyes on.
Real talk.
You get what I'm saying? Or if you were the college beat writer at LSU in 1968 and you seen Pete Maravich.
Right.
Nobody ain't going to convince you anything that Kyrie Irving's done is not something that they've seen Pete Maravich do in practice with no cameras around, with a leather ball.
Yeah.
This is just, so you can't discredit that either.
Yeah.
You can't discredit what other players who've battled these guys factor into, their equation. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you may think Joe Blow player Sucked because on the back of his basketball card, it shows he had, a career, whatever points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Their opinion carries way more, weight into. So it's like there's no concrete
criteria,
for what a top 10, is. Like how you can do it with like the highest grossing movies of all time.
Correct.
Like they narrow it down to gross.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't say top 10 most dominant players of all time.
Right.
Or top 10 most skilled players of all time. Or top 10 winningest players of all time.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They say player of all time. And it's too gray to me.
Yeah, I agree. And and that was the point that I was making. I'm like, the reason why a Bleacher Report would do a top 100 players of all time and put Jordan at number 1 is because what they value is how much you get done in the shortest amount of time. And what Michael Jordan did in the amount of time in which he did it is what they value. That doesn't mean that that's what anybody else has to value. I'm like, but the basketball public at large, the consensus, I'm not saying everybody, that it just means that most people, like most of the time when you take a fan poll, most of the time when you take an anonymous player poll, I'm not talking about when you ask people to say it out loud, because Clutch Sports is punitive. A lot of people be like, oh, it's LeBron. But when you take these anonymous polls like The Athletic used to do, they didn't do it this year for some reason, but they did it for several years in a row. Michael Jordan would win. You ask former players, Michael Jordan will win. You ask the public, Michael Jordan wins. Because what the public values is how much you got done in a short amount of time. And yes, cultural impact factors in. You know what I'm saying? Awards factor in. Averages factor in. Advanced stats factor in. All of that factors in. It's not just cumulative stats, but some people value cumulative stats, like Isaiah Thomas, like he was saying that, all of these major statistical categories. Yeah, but those ain't the only statistical categories.
By that metric, he's saying John Stockton's better than him.
Yeah, exactly. And I know he don't believe that.
And I don't either, Zeke.
Yeah, I don't either. But again, if that's what you value, then fine. Like if you think John Stockton is better than you, then just say that. But I didn't want to,
So, but no, to your point on that Bleacher Report, you said that's where the list was on?
Yeah, I mean, every list.
Well, what number did they have Magic?
You know what? I would have to get the Bleacher Report top 100 player. But like Fox Sports, ESPN, everybody that makes a list of the top 50 NBA players of all time, top 100, Michael Jordan is number one.
No. I know.
All of them.
But you were saying that the Bleacher Report values what he had the most done in this short amount of time.
Most basketball publications.
Right. No.
That's why he's won.
No, I just wonder because I'm like, well, damn, Magic had a 12-year run.
He did.
Where it's just
he had a great 12-year run. He won 5. He won 3 league MVPs, 3 finals MVPs. He had a great run.
He went to 9 finals.
Yeah, he did. He went to 9 finals. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
I just wonder where
Magic is typically top 5 on.
No, because I was just wondering if that's what one of the main things that Bleacher Report focuses on in terms of what they. I just wonder where he ranks on that, with that being a main stickler.
I was just using Bleacher Report as an example. I wasn't saying that Bleacher Report necessarily, because I don't remember what.
And I don't take them as gospel anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember what their write up was. I was just saying that in general, basketball publications have valued what you got done in the shortest amount of time, which is why Magic is considered the greatest point guard of all time, because his body of work is smaller. He got a more condensed career, but 9 first-team All-NBA selections in like a 12-year, like in 12-year and the 13-year playing career,
top 5. Then was it like second place MVP finishes are like ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's wild, but yeah, I didn't want to go down that rabbit trail, but no, you're right. That's a good question about Kevin Durant, and
let's see how it pans out.
Yeah, yes, we will.